gaskets and other accessories for industrial cabinets, machine industry, and so on. Okay.
Yeah, we were contacted in 2020, and we have done a proof of concept with Thomas and his team. And then beginning 21, we really started the project. And as you have seen on the scope of the EMKA Group, it's quite a huge and massive project. So we have divided into major work packages. We had some quick wins. We were as well choosing the US and Indonesia later for the first go lives to see to have as well a blueprint for the further locations to go live. Then we had, of course, certain global requirements. You can imagine 25, 26 locations to be integrated into one software. Of course, there are certain management needs as well in terms of reporting, etc. So we needed to have really a global setup, and we had to develop quite a few things. And then we were planning the further rollout, which will start then with go lives beginning of next year, and then subsequently we will go live with all sales location, mainly sales location, logistic, distribution location. And then we have for the major production plants, which are 3-4 manufacturing plants, we have a bigger go live than in beginning of 24. And that will be then the point when really, except perhaps some smaller locations come later, everything is integrated into Odoo. Yeah, and on the way, I mean, you see a bit of transition from the previous planning, and now we are 1.5 years later. So the major steps we are still keeping, but of course there were small adjustments and additions even, so we have extended as well the scope. And well, definitely we had certain challenges, and yeah, because we have just a few minutes, we have picked 3 challenges, 2-3 challenges, which Thomas will.
Yeah, in general, to say we as a group have a relative old ERP software using most of the countries, not all of them. So this is also another part of the problem. The problem is not the age of the software. It's the problem is that this software is highly customized. So there are hundreds of customizations over the years and decades using this program. And of course, these customizations create expectations to the new software. So every user wants to find the common things and the known things. Where is this in the new software, and where is that, and so on. So this is sometimes a discussion, yeah, and also an education process sometimes. But of course, a lot of things which reflect special things and the special needs of the EMKA Group has to be built in the system either by standard, either by workaround, or by customization. This is a 3-step process. We analyzed every customization or wishes for customization. First, we analyze, is it possible in standard? Second, is there any workaround to achieve the same goal on a different way? And third, some customizations. And one example is, we call it, to give the child a name, we call it bomb on the fly. What is it? The demand comes from that we need a flexible solution for customer-specific sets. We sell a lot of sets which are unique for one customer. For instance, a cabinet maker, which is our typical customer, needs 2 hinges for a cabinet, lock rods, and maybe 4 rod guides. And this he wants to buy as a set with 1 item number. You may say now, okay, create a product. It's really easy, but I think the way Odoo uses for creating products is, at least for larger organizations, far too easy. And it's my belief that it's not a good idea to allow a salesperson, an internal or external sales, to create a product on their belief. That's why we limited the creation of products, and we create a new type of product. It's a quotation product, and sales is only able to create a sales product what means they can add a BOM on this product. So, for instance, this set with or without assembly. Sometimes we have sets with additional assembly. And they can sell it to the customer with a unique number, and also the customer can reorder according to this item number. So that's the idea of BOM on the fly. For this, to achieve this, we add a button on the sales documents, create new or add new BOM, and then we can build up in a separate window the BOM and add it to the sales documents as one position. So there's one position in the sales document which contain all components in this BOM. Second example, material surcharge. At the moment, you know, in many industries, surcharges for material, for energy, for whatever, is a big topic. And in the hardware industry is a topic for decades already, to bind prices to market prices for raw materials on international stock exchanges or whatever. And this is usual in our group for many years, for stainless steel, for instance, for zinc and other raw materials, that we have to bind the price or invoicing extra costs based on daily rates from international material stock exchange. So that's the programming we made. It was quite a difficult thing. You can imagine it's necessary to explode N-level bombs. We have multi-level bombs, and you have to go into the last step where the raw material is. Then you have to identify the raw material, the amount of this raw material, write it in a table, multiply it with the actual factor. So it sounds difficult, and it is difficult. So, but eventually we achieved that, and we can now select either to add this material surcharge to the quotation already, or only to the invoice, depends on the customer. So there are different options possible. Yeah, the internal project management is always a huge challenge, and especially in a multinational, multi-company project for sure. And we learned a lot of lessons, believe me. We made some mistakes, of course, and tried to learn from these mistakes as well. And we are in a constant improving process, I think. So the communication in the project is the steering meetings, frequent steering meetings on different levels, on the level of the worker, and as well as on the director's level, are important. The conducting of tests and the results and so on. So this is a developing process together with OBS. There's still some conflict but I think this is normal in the management of a big project. But we found also, or we learned some lesson about information. I mean, it's not a rocket science that information also to the team, and also to the team which is not involved or not yet involved into the project. These informations or the flow of information is essential for the project's success. It is bad to, of course, it's bad to inform the people too late about the new program or the new opportunities or the new demands, of course. But it's always also bad if you inform too early. That's in a long time running project like ours, over 3 years, if you wake up expectations too early, then people are frustrated. Meanwhile, I don't hear something, and there's nothing going on, and we didn't know that there's still a project and all these things you can hear. So that means keep the pressure on a certain level over the project, give the informations on different quality levels, of course, but keep the whole team informed about the progress, what we achieved, what we want, what is the next step, and so on. The the key team in our company, in our project, is quite small. It's part of the organization group, it's part of the IT group, but it's really small. So that's why for us it was very important to cooperate with OBS, the project management from OBS side, and also the coordination which OBS is doing with the international partners is very essential for us. Otherwise, we could not manage that in this international scale. So thanks, Robin, for that good job. Let me come to some strengths and weaknesses from the platform, from our subjective perspective, of course. A strong point for us to choose Odoo was the network of partners international-wise. We have actually only one country where EMKA has a facility. There's no local partners, but we found another solution from the neighbor country, so it's also fine. And that was a big point for the project, and I only can advise to work this way. This project, such a project, international-wise, cannot be managed from one location. In this case, from Germany. The data migration is quite easy. So we had to migrate 10,000s of data from production and contacts and so on. I don't want to go more into detail. Of course, there are also weaknesses. The system is generally very open. I mentioned already the creating of products is quite easy. It's just an example. So in our big organization, we had to limit a little bit the idea of being very open and transparent without limiting our possibilities, of course. But this is not always easy. Some modules are not sufficient for bigger companies, especially also in accounting and BI. Maybe we see something good or something promising in 16. The project management, as I mentioned, is necessary, but this is not specific to Odoo. This is always, and it's not really a weak point of Odoo. And of course, the yearly update for us is not possible. This would not be manageable from our organization. So we decide to skip always a version. We go from 14 to 16. That's the plan. Okay, Tobias.
Good, very good.
Your part.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned was the collaboration with partners worldwide. I think that's a real strength of Odoo in general. Therefore, we have created the BOP Alliance, which is an alliance of 8-9 partners. We are growing constantly. We have just started. And we've tried to have this alliance with best partners in the various regions in order to really have a strong network and to be able to facilitate these kind of projects. Because we believe if Odoo is growing further into the bigger market, definitely we need to have here a very good a network alliance in order to be successful here with those projects. And of course, a big advantage is that the partner is very capable, the local partner capable with the localizations, with the local demands and so on. So we really have the project management. We have 2 layers. We have like a global overview, and then we work with, I don't know how many, 20 partners around the globe at the moment. So 20 locations. And well, therewith we have developed, we call it BOP Executive Project Monitoring, because it's a difference if you do a small project in 1 or 2 locations or a bigger customer implementation with 25 or more locations. So of course on the one hand side we use the partner setup, we use our alliance, we use as well community partners, of course. In regard to service and solutions, with various partners we have created modules. Thomas was just explaining that in some areas the standard is not sufficient, like it was in finance. Perhaps now it's better with 16. But definitely we have developed over the last 2-3 years solutions which are especially for this kind of customers and requirements. And yeah, well, on the other side, project monitoring, as mentioned already, we do a 4 to 6 weeks steering meeting, and we try to really have the same approach, the same steps we discussed, budget, time, milestones, where are we, where's as well the political situation, do we have major issues, such a project, political situations as well to be considered, because of course it's just a big company. Yeah. And therewith we have worked out this kind of project monitoring tool for this kind of projects within our BOP Alliance. Yeah, that's it from our side. Thank you very much for your attention. Of course, we are open for questions whenever you have. We have as well a stand here from OBS and from the BOP Alliance as well, so if you want to speak to me or to my colleagues, we are very welcome to exchange ideas with you, of course. We are very interested in doing these kind of projects, of course, in the future.
There's a question.
Where do we get information from the BOP Alliance?
Sorry?
Where do we get information from?
For
BOP Alliance?
We have a booth over there, and we have a website, BOP-alliance.com.
Mm-hmm. Is it only limited to Europe, or it's also across the world?
No, it's worldwide. It's worldwide.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So what was, or how much was the importance of the analysis phase, and how long did it took before you started developing?
Yeah, we start with a proof of concept, and that took approximately 3 months, I guess. Yeah. So in these 3 months, we made different workshops for the different departments to present the possibilities of the software and to get some feedback, and also to sort out some specific things which may not be, at least not on the first impression, into the system. Based on that, we made our decision to go this way. It was a quick decision, to be honest. It's not only about the performance, we were convinced, but also as a big company, you cannot make 10 of those proof of concepts with different manufacturers of software. So the decision has to be made, and Odoo as a platform for customization and with the high flexibility did convince us. That's why this phase took not very long.
Can I ask a second one? Related?
Sure.
So how did you choose your POC?
POC?
Yes, which process, I mean, did you go for a very, proof of concept, sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, well, we have a standard proof of concept for these kind of projects, which of course in that scale is customizable. So, well, as Thomas mentioned, actually, we start with the general broadcasting of the solution, and then, I mean, EMKA was very well prepared as well with a list of requirements, and then with a smaller team, we went through those list of requirements in each department, and we saw what can Odoo do in standard, and where do we need to adapt something. And in case we need to adapt, we have estimate, of course, roughly on where we go. And of course, very important in the proof of concept is to see if there's any blocking thing. So if we have something that Odoo really cannot do, and it's mandatory, that's very seldom actually, but of course, proof of concept is for that to see if it's possible. And we built as well a small database so people could check it, could test it, and could get a feeling. And I think that's very convincing if you have employees that are a bit working in the system, because Odoo has a very good usability. Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay, so if there is no more question, we still have some minute left. So if you have something to share or something else, you can go for it.
I don't think so.
And if you're done, then we can...
Just visit us at our booth, yeah, if you want. Thank you.
Thank you very much.